Hey everyone, welcome back to the Fun Indian Guy podcast. I had a really interesting journey of my design studies in Politecnico di Milano, and I met few people who kind of impacted my life on a really huge scale. And on my right, we have Valentina Auricchio, one of my professors from Politecnico di Milano. Say hi to people.
Hello.
People say hi to Valentina. So she was my professor of design thinking or design methods, but more than the skill set or more than the educational thing, what I got out of your course or what I got out of working with you was kind of a perspective or vision on life, which has helped me a lot. And later she also became my tutor for my master thesis, and because of her I did a thesis about videos, otherwise I was going for something else. So she has been a very important figure in my design studies, and I'm super glad to have you on the podcast to share some things with us.
I'm glad too.
Yeah, so we will begin our podcast now. I'll ask you to quickly introduce yourself, what you have done, where do you come from, and then we begin our podcast.
Okay, so I'm Valentina Auricchio in Italian.
Auricchio.
Auricchio in English. I'm Neapolitan. I was born in Naples, but I lived around the world. I lived in the States as a child and then came back to Italy, and I did a PhD in design, and then after my PhD I did some other jobs outside of Politecnico, trying to understand also who I am as a designer.
Yeah.
And then now I'm back in Politecnico teaching
Nice.
since very recent, since January.
Yeah.
Hi, I'm Suyog, also known as the Fun Indian Guy. I'm a designer, musician, filmmaker, and a mechanical engineer. I'm from India, and currently I'm chilling around, traveling around, working around, roaming around, having fun around Europe, and this is my podcast. The Fun Indian Guy podcast.
So since when are you into like studying design? Like when did you start?
Okay, actually, I was inspired by a professor in my high school. I was in a high school in Switzerland afterwards. I did an English high school. You missed that. I did my last 2 years of high school in Switzerland. I did my A levels, and I was doing art. And my professor of art, my teacher of art, took us to see a design school at a certain point. I think it must have been SUPSI or one of those schools in Switzerland. I don't remember which one, but when I saw the workshops, I said, okay, this is what I want to do when I'll be big, when I'm older. And so I tried to apply to some. First of all, I tried to understand where you do design, because no one knew what is design,
Right.
and it was 1995, 1994, yeah,
Long time ago.
Yeah, some time ago. And so I looked around. I applied to some schools in the States, and then I applied to some schools in England. And then I felt I had to go back home. So I went back to Naples. There was no design in Naples at the time. And so I told my father, I said, I want to do this. And he said, what is design? And I said, people do, coffee makers. And I have a friend that has done a coffee maker. And I said, oh, good. He studied engineering. Okay. And so he introduced me to an engineer, and then he said, okay, go to an architect. And I interviewed both. And I said, okay, maybe engineering. So I signed up for engineering. I did 1 year of engineering in Naples, 270 students, 10 women. And I said, okay, I like this, it's good, but it's not really what I want to do. And then suddenly I went to see, again, my father took me to a fair of universities in Italy, and I found out that in Politecnico there was a course.
The course.
I started from there, basically.
Long time ago.
Yeah.
Crazy. So that is kind of the topic I would like to discuss with you, because now you have gone through a long phase of being in design or design industry or also education, and now me or my friends who are just starting to work and get to work with companies or do freelance or something like that. So it's like we looking at something which we don't know where we are going, but you have some sort of a journey which has been there. And I would like to discuss that, and not from the perspective of what kind of projects you did or details of the projects or something like that, but more towards like how design has affected your life. And as I was discussing with you before we started rolling, that there is a very thin line between a professional designer and also the personal life of a designer, because then you start looking at everything from a design perspective, and your life choices, the things you want to do, everything has a really good impact of design. So I would like to know that from you as a person, how it helped you, and it would be really nice to understand from your experience, not so that we could plan, but just to see how it goes for a person like you.
Yeah. Well, it's true. Design sort of, well, we all design, we say now. You design, you decide, you plan.
Yeah.
Maybe is the better word. You know, in Italian we have progettare, so to throw forward.
Yeah.
And so it's not planning, it's not designing, it's something that everybody, you design your life, no? Okay, there's also someone else that has said that.
I think there's a book.
Okay, but everybody. So I think in my profession, in my experience, is that sometimes I'm so passionate about what I'm doing is that I lose track of what I'm doing. So my professors used to say, this is the most beautiful job you can do in your life. And I think, I mean, any job can be the most beautiful job you can do in your life. But in particular, probably design is, because it is really enriching, and it's about the beauty of what surrounds you. It's about, so in a way it does affect your life and all your decisions. I actually did product design. So this is important because when I studied, there was no service design. There was no strategic design. There was no design management. I studied when these things were starting. So actually, there was a course on service design, but no one applied when I was
back in
school. Again, it was 1998, 1997, 98. There was a first service design course, and I think 10 people applied, something like that. So they had to close it immediately, and it just it was not. So we were doing either communication or design, and at the time there was no division between the different subjects. So I did a bit of communication, I did a bit of design, and a product design, a bit of communication, a bit of product, and then sort of I specialized in product in the end. But it was completely different from now, where you start immediately, okay, I do product design, I do communication design, or I do fashion, or I do, and then product service system design is afterwards in your master's. So, I think, I don't know where in the future, but things are moving towards this idea that in any case, creativity is something that it should be part of anybody's life. So anybody that is working in any sector should have these abilities, let's say these abilities that are that are part of our design world. But they can apply also in other jobs and other professions. So that's where, let's say, design is going. It's enlarging. It's getting. Now it's working on politics. Then, if you want, in the past, designers used to say, like Maldonado, but also all of the designers in the 70s used to say that design has to, has this social importance. And now is the moment where it's actually has this opportunity. It's gotten to the point where it can do it. Sort of. It's still not doing it, but it's gotten to the point where it has the
potential.
The legacy to do it.
I completely agree, because even before doing PSSD course, I had done a bunch of other things, but after doing PSSD, as I said, it gave me kind of a vision to use everything I was doing to enable something. So earlier it was just music as a hobby, or music as something, or I make videos for this. But then when I had kind of got this vision or perspective of design, then I started looking at the usual normal thing in some other way, like how I can use music to do something, or how I can use videos to do something else. and it kind of started to enable other dimensions
Yeah.
which were there, but I couldn't look at them because I didn't have this kind of vision. And it's quite interesting what you said, that basic design thinking ability should be there in everybody so they can do their normal things in a better way. And designer doesn't have to, like, let's say the designers, which we call designers today, don't have to go and teach them to think. And education is one of the factors which can really help that. So I would like to ask you, like, what kind of, it's not about this, but since you started in Politecnico long time ago, what kind of events you had till now which kind of defined some things and changed completely the path for you? Because design has quite a lot of fluidity when you do things. You can change drastically the total path.
Yeah, I had many actually, because I'm one of those people that I'm never. I don't know. Every such years I have to change. I remember when I decided to do design, there was one thing that I was sure of. I didn't want to go into one company and do the same thing for the rest of my life. You know, just design always the same thing. I was quite certain that I wanted to go into a company where I could change the area in which I could apply design, the project. So that was the only certainty I had. The rest was not was completely uncertain. I don't know. Right. So I changed many times. I changed job many times. So first I started as I started my first job was translating from Italian to English some academic papers. Then I worked in the international office of Politecnico. So I did different kinds of jobs, and then slowly then I did my PhD. I worked on international projects. But then somehow the academia for me was at a certain point it wasn't allowing me to actually see how things went to the market.
Right.
So I needed to see things going to the market. So I said, okay, I have to change. And going out of academia in Italy was quite complicated. So that was the first step. And I went to another school, which is called Istituto Europeo di Design, and I was the director of of the research center there. Right. And that was a very difficult task. There I started getting more in contact with companies, and although I was still inside an academic situation, setting. One beautiful job, one of the most beautiful jobs that really that I would have liked to continue actually was when I directed Ottagono, the Italian newspaper in design. It's for me it's a myth. It's one of those things that and then it had to close because people don't read anymore. People don't buy newspapers anymore, so it had to close. But that was an amazing journey, because there you're in contact with companies, but you're in contact with critics, you're in contact with journalists, with editors, and so you're constantly knowing what's going on internationally. Yeah, and that was another important moment. I think the path-changing events were more inside me than outside. It's very interesting. I need to change. Yeah. I think I'm a designer. I get bored of things. If I have to do the same thing again, even when I teach. Yeah. Every year I change. Right. Like I'm constantly updating. I never have the same slides. In fact, I've heard some professors do mocks. Okay, I do 80 mocks. And then students look at my mocks, and then I was like, how can you, it changes. Every year it changes. And design is constantly evolving. Yeah. It's not like teaching a subject that is, okay, there's a certainty. Right. It's always uncertain. It's always evolving, and you have to keep on updating on materials, on processes, on economies, social issues. Yeah. Yeah. I don't know if I didn't really have I think the turning points were inside me. Like there were moments in my life where I felt that I had done what I was supposed to do there. Right. And I had to go. Sort of, that was the feeling. And pick up the next thing. Yeah.
Yes.
It wasn't so much from outside telling me, but it's more me.
Yeah.
Either my ethics,
Yeah,
sometimes
right.
it was my ethics, or just, okay, I've done what I have to do.
Yeah.
And now let's move on to something else.
Right.
To a new challenge.
So that's a very interesting thing about design, because if, for example, let's take an example of engineer, you can go ahead, and then you go project manager, and there's a kind of a defined path, and it's not impossible, but changing really field or changing the complete topic requires, again, the skill set to do something else.
I think it's important, actually.
To change. Yeah. Also in other than design fields.
I wouldn't know other than that. For sure, in design, you need to change because you need to, if you're in any project, if you're constantly doing the same, at a certain point, you lose that curiosity.
Yeah, true.
You become I don't know. It's important in design to always have a fresh view on things. It's difficult to have that fresh view for a long time.
Right.
Like in the same place or in the same situation. I think it's important. I don't know if in other professions probably.
But these days people are changing because the skills and the knowledge is quite freely available. So the kind of traditional jobs are also changing. But from your perspective, let's say, because you had possibility to work in different sorts of fields, still being in a design, and sometimes that leads to a lot of uncertainties and questions. Sometimes you also feel like, man, I could do that, or I can also do that, but then you have to pick something. Did you find such challenges in your life where you were like, it's not fear of missing out, but still like you could do so many things, but then it's very also difficult to pick one and then do that.
Always.
Yeah.
I have difficulties in saying no, but I've learned that I have to, because otherwise I get overwhelmed by the amount of things. So I have difficulties in saying no, not because I want to, make you happy, but because I'm always in like, that sounds interesting. Oh, that's everything is a challenge, and it has its. I have that passion of. But then I have to. I've learned that I have to choose, because there have been moments. There has been a specific moment in which I was overwhelmed by too many challenges, and the fact that you change. I wanted to add, probably that links to what you're saying, is that when you change. It's also scary.
True.
I mean, if you know a topic or a sector very well, you feel strong about, I know how this works. But every time you change and you go into a new sector, you start from zero again.
Right.
So, and that's quite scary. Like, am I going to be able to manage this? Am I going to be able to, and
or maybe am I going to be at the same level? Because then you kind of, if you change the topic, then there's a chance that you will work on a lower level than where you were.
Yeah.
So stepping down and picking something else could also be a bit difficult.
Yeah.
In that sense.
Yeah. For example, just to give an example, I started as when I had my own company, because there was a moment where I had my own company, and with two colleagues, partners. Yeah. And I started doing this design thinking thing in different companies, and they were calling me, and HRs were calling me, can you do 2 days design thinking? And at the beginning, it was a challenge for me, because I said, okay, I have to put up a system, how it's going to work. I have to, and it was quite difficult. I was working with CEOs, CFOs, CIOs, high management. So it was always very demanding, and I was with doctors and difficult topics as well. But at a certain point, I said, I don't want to do this anymore, because it was just repetitive. It wasn't interesting anymore, because on one hand, I had handled it. Once I know how it works. I know how. On the other hand, whatever we were doing there was not then brought. It wasn't. They weren't bringing it forward into projects, into real projects. So at a certain point, I sort of
motivation. Lost.
I gave it up.
Yeah.
So I have the knowledge there.
Right.
Of I know how to do that. which makes you stronger. But on the other hand, there's another voice that tells me, you know, it's not. That's something maybe it's not when I need to learn.
Yeah.
Or if at a certain point I realize that I'm not learning anything anymore, I'm not, or I'm just as a disc, you know, just repeating the same thing mechanically. That's when I
lose it.
I lose it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And because we are in this situation, how do you deal with that situation? Do you immediately stop and look for something else, or you immediately slowly get out of it and plan your exit strategy?
Moments. I've immediately stopped, like the day exactly in which I felt it has happened. And you know, the person, no, but take your time. I'm like, no, this is it. The end is here. Or there are moments where you say, okay, obviously, you know, you have also budgets, you have, you know, agreements that you've taken with people. So it depends. It depends. But I have this strong urge inside at that moment. So it's urgent. Yeah. It's like emergency bell. Right. So maybe it's not immediate, but but as soon as possible.
Yeah. But it's quite interesting. So at such situations, you prefer to hold on to your voice and learn something more than the situation, because sometimes it could also be financial situation that you have to earn that money. Yeah. But you first try to put your interest, and then it anyway works out. Or how has it been? Or you had to really sacrifice sometimes because you couldn't really stop?
Sacrifice. I haven't really. I've always tried in those moments to turn the project around, like sell something different. Why don't we do this a bit differently? Because maybe putting in something new for me.
Interesting stuff.
So I try to first turn it around, and then there's moments, obviously, where you have to go with the flow. You can't just do whatever you want. So there have been moments, but I've always tried to. Instead of using this tool, why don't I just go look for something different? So at least also I experiment something different. Right. Yeah, I think that's important for me. I don't know if it's a design thing or if it's my personal thing, but I think in design, I think it might be a design thing also, like a thing of something that is part of our profession. Like you want to learn while you're designing. You want to discover the world. You're curious. You can't be curious about something that you know by heart. You know perfectly.
Yeah, it's saturation after that.
Exactly. But it's not just to make things different, though. I think that's important. Like, it's not just because I want to do it, make something different. But it's just learning. Yeah. Learning while you're doing is important.
Yeah. So one thing I would like to ask here is, like, a lot of the times when we are in struggle, let's say me and my friends, maybe not getting job or some bureaucracy and everything, other people around them are always saying, things work out, things always work out, things always. But so from where you are standing, did things always work out? No?
No, I can say, but things always work out in what sense? Like, you bring...
I think in bigger picture, yes, because...
Yeah, I would say that there's no project that I've done that hasn't gone to the end of the project. I mean, I've never left a project, just in the middle of it. Yeah. I always take it to a conclusion, and I've always had positive. I mean, I don't have. If it's a failure, it's like I have had a strong failure, but it's more a personal failure than the client didn't perceive it as a failure.
You were not happy with it.
I was not happy.
Yeah.
I was not happy with it. And it was in this design thinking situation where, I felt that it wasn't useful. It was wrong, to do it, and you can't become a designer in 2 days, So there, for me, it was they had a great time. 2 days of design thinking, and for them it was, but for me it was it was something that I felt wrong, so that was a failure. I did have problems with obviously with companies not being happy with so it doesn't always go right.
So you were telling the part of design career is always to change, or always to learn new things, always keep the curiosity. As you had this really long career till now, did it feel sometimes I was suffocating, like not suffocating, exhausting? That now like every time I have to learn something new, or it's just now so natural that it doesn't look like a task?
It's not exhausting, yes. But it's not because I have to learn something new, it's because of time management.
Okay.
I personally do not like time pressure, but I'm constantly under time pressure. I like having the right time to do things, with the right time that I need to do something. And today the world is going so fast that you rarely have the right time to do things as you would like them to be. So I think, it's more about overwhelmed by so much pressure of time, of having to... I think that the best moment was probably when I had my own business, because when you have your own business, you can take your decisions, you can, you can decide the time, even if you decide the time of that project, you decide, and you propose it to a company and then see if it's okay. You have this agreement. While in other situations of my jobs, somehow, the overwhelming, it's not so much about learning. I still like that.
Yeah.
I love learning. But I don't like learning if I have a limited amount of time. I don't like doing it fast.
Yeah.
I get stressed.
Right.
Like, right. I don't want to learn, okay, fast, now. I need my time to,
to take it in and pick when to take it in.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, which is not easy.
Yeah.
I think today we're going too fast.
Too fast.
In any case.
Right. But then the question is, should we also go faster, or we should keep our
No,
pace?
we need to go slower.
Yeah. All of us.
All of us. I'm trying.
Yeah.
I'm trying. And I realize that sometimes I go fast, and then I have to, slow. Keep it slow. But the outside, the world is demanding fast, so it's not easy to find the right
balance or equilibrium.
Yeah,
that's quite interesting. I would take the conversation to education now for a second, and then we should go into the life, which is apart from the design career, like the professional stuff. You have been teaching for a long time in Politecnico, and thank you that I also got to study under you. It was a very interesting moment in my life that time, because I remember clearly that because your course was one of the first courses I came to at Politecnico, and before that I didn't have much of design background. I came from engineering and everything, and I came in the course to you, and I asked you, because I was super worried that time, and I asked the specific question like, how would I get a job, or how would I get to work, because I have no portfolio, I have no experience, I have nothing to show, and whatever I had was not up to the mark, as I see everybody else who already has a designing background. And that time I was so questioning everything, and I remember you saying that, don't worry, just learn now and you will have enough projects by the end and you will know what you want to do. And it turned out to be like that. I was really thankful. Because
in the end you also did some competitions. Yeah,
it was a very nice learning curve, and it was really amazing. So from that experience of teaching, you must have also got a lot of things back for you.
Yes.
So how would you look at that? Because you get to meet so many students who come from completely different backgrounds and thinking, and sometimes thinking are so raw that they're very interesting.
Yeah.
So how would you look at the whole experience of teaching?
The only problem of that class is that we're 100 students.
Yeah.
So I would like to have a stronger relationship with the class, because teaching, the best is is what you receive. I mean, teaching is always for me it's learning on both sides. So I really like to listen to what what my students have to say, what they're. Sometimes it's difficult because with 100 students, they're shy. No one speaks up, so you have to. It's a struggle, no, to get that conversation going.
Break the ice with everyone.
Break the ice, and so then when we work in groups, it's much better, and I'm happy when someone comes up. But yeah, I think also another thing that I get from my students is that I work with them afterwards. I mean, I'm always in contact with. I still have one. I taught in India.
Yeah.
And I had students from India here in Italy for 6 months, and it was the best course ever. And we're still in contact. There's people working around in the world, and we're still in contact. This was 2006, so we're talking about more than 10 to 15 years ago, no? And we're still in contact. So this for me is enriching. Because some kind of bond is made there, and we help each other. Like if I need something, I know that some students are around and they have this, and also seeing them go into the world, and now some of my students are head of directors of design studios and things like that. So. That's enriching, it's
true.
not only, and also from a professional point of view afterwards, working together is enriching. So when people come from all over the world in a class, it's always difficult also to, because what I always say is that we all come from different cultures. It's not only a design culture, but we're also from different cultures, family culture. So it's impossible, even if you're international, even if you've lived around the world, you have an international background, you speak English fluently, you're never going to be able to grasp the culture of
the nuances.
So that's something that I like to learn every time.
And it has been a really long journey, and so many people.
I mean, I would say with India, I have a strong, because I've been there and I taught there, and I was in Srishti school for a couple of months, so I have a strong link, and I've understood your culture. While other cultures for me are still completely still difficult. I mean, it's not enough to have students that come from other parts of the world too. You have to actually go there, live there, and
But it's quite fascinating that also, like, you taught us, and that time, let's take my personal example. Like I had no clue about how it is going to be, and the lectures you deliver as you being a professional who is giving the knowledge out, and the people are like new sponges, just grasping everything. But it has so much impact that it has been giving out to the world. Like, you are not going and doing every project, but the students which you have taught are also creating their own impact. It's like a chain reaction. Though you can't really grasp the width and the size of it, but I think it's very noble and it's very huge.
Also when you're teaching, you don't grasp it. You don't know how much you're impacting. It's impossible, I think. I'm not so also aware while I'm teaching of how much I'm getting better every year. Learning, because you become, it's not that easy, and they don't teach you how to teach. They send you in a class and you're teaching.
Give them knowledge.
And so exactly. So I learn every year, and I learn also from the reactions, and also and then students change. This year was the first time I was in a class where everybody was taking notes with their laptops, and I could hear this tick, 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 and I was like, what is this noise? And then
it's changing.
And for me, it's and you have to fight with. You don't want to feel that you're old. You don't want to say, okay, I don't. So you have to
with
say.
The pen.
I mean, on one hand, you think, but maybe this writing with it does change the interaction with you're looking at a screen, you're not looking at me,
the person.
So on one hand, you have doubts on, is it good or bad? No, and there's no good or bad. It's different, but at the same time, you're losing something.
True.
Like, you're not drawing, you're not sketching, you're not.
True.
So I don't know. I question myself every year.
Yeah.
And one year I went into class and I looked at my tutor. I said, something's wrong here. Like I've missed out on fashion because this has something is. We're back in the 80s. What's happening? Pants up here.
Bell bottom.
I was like, whoa. And that was 2 years ago. I remember getting into the class and having this shock. I said, so that's also interesting. Like it keeps you updated.
Yeah. It's like global culture visiting you every year. It's in your lab, and it just goes. You just see the whole world, like reflection of the world.
Exactly,
in
reflection of the world in the classroom, and it's beautiful. And on the other hand, what I try to avoid is I don't like flattening the world. Also,
yeah,
it's very difficult because when you teach, you tend to flatten because you are teaching your perspective. So it's difficult to get this dialogue going where you're saying, okay, I'm giving you a point of view. It's not like teaching math, 1 + 1 is 2.
This is how it is.
This is how it is. And so in our world, it's not.
Yeah.
There's never this is how it is. There's no one methodology. There's no one way to do it. There's no one way and each culture thinks differently.
Yeah. And there's no one answer.
There's no one answer.
Yeah.
So, and sometimes it's difficult because students think that they have to please you because you're giving a grade.
True.
I would eliminate the grades, but I can't. So, but in any case, you're giving a grade, you're judging, so students think that you have to please you. The risk is that they become a photocopy of what you are, which is not the objective of teaching.
Yeah. I remember in Politecnico only I was discussing with one of my classmates, Sebastian Ogubbo, that it was about like the grades you get are most of the times higher if you are as close as to the point of view of the professor, because for him or her that makes sense, and if you're closer to that gets you a good grade. Shouldn't be like that, but could tend to be like that.
It shouldn't be like that.
No, it should never be. I also hate grades. Like even in school I didn't like them.
No, I mean it's very difficult to give grades in design. I mean, after you design with a group of students for 6 months on a project, I mean, half of that project is yours.
True.
Because it's a master pupil thing. So how do you grade something where half of it is yours, or more than half in some cases?
That's true.
So it's like grading yourself. You're like, okay, it's
it's tricky. It's challenging, I guess, in itself.
You're not transferring a knowledge, checking if you know what 1 + 1 is 2 is, because that's not the point of it. No, it's a project.
Right.
So, and you told them when it's good or when it's bad, or you helped in developing it as if you're, as a normal design manager in a design firm.
True.
So you're out. It's a very strange thing.
Yeah, I know, but that's how the system is.
Yeah.
That's how they make us believe like that. The condition to think like that. Yeah. On the similar line, I was having a conversation with Seba the other day because I'm staying at his house for I'm a nomad, staying everywhere. It's like right now, we are working a lot, let's say. We are doing a lot of projects, personal projects, YouTube or anything, making podcasts and everything. And at the same time, there is no money because we are not really working at someone. But we are putting more than the hours one puts every day in a studio working. But it's the society which makes you think that if you're not getting money, that means you're not doing anything. And it's really, we have to evaluate what we are doing. And of course, you need money to survive and to do other things and enable different things in life. But we have to also forgive ourselves and really believe in what you're doing. Otherwise, then you tend to lose it, and then meaning of everything just changes.
Yeah, that's another good point that you put. I think the best design studio, the best designers are those that, on one hand, okay, they do the jobs that they have to do for the company, but on the other hand, they always bring forward their personal research.
That's true. Yeah.
The designers that I have interviewed, the ones that I admire the most, to have this double track. And it's not easy because you have to, as you were saying, you have to gain the right, but you have to also give the right amount of time to your personal research. So those that are managed to have this double track are the ones that
are able to do.
Yeah, because somehow you develop your personal view on the world. And then you find who can finance it, and that kind of attitude. And on the other hand, of course, you do whatever you have to do for companies, which is fine, also good.
True. How design has really affected your day-to-day life? Could be anything, like basic personal choices, giving time to yourself, could be mental well-being, could be family, or how it has like really affected the other aspect of your life.
That's a good question.
And also quite broad. It's not very like.
I think, it has for sure, design studies have for sure affected my mindset. When I started design, I had a completely different way of looking at the world, I think. When you start your first studies in design, you learn by looking at the different case. Oh, that designer did that, and how he went through it, and what did he see, and you don't design a chair, but you design something to relax on, or something to, you change your perspective.
Right.
And that has affected me a lot, I think, from a mindset point of view, of always searching for a different way of seeing things. So I think in my personal individual mindset, I think that's something that I bring every day. I don't know if I could give an example, but for sure, I never think that things can be done one way. I'm not, okay, this is right and this is wrong. It's always, okay, depends.
Yeah, true.
And I don't know if that's also because of my culture, but I think it's all, or because of, meeting many cultures and meeting many different people coming from all around the world. But it's also, I think, a design perspective, always doubting that things can be done in one unique way. For sure, it has affected my aesthetics. Before doing design, I was not so in love with certain products. Now it's like
They stand out now.
well, it's almost like I would go steal it if I could. But yeah, I can't go on vacation in ugly places, like ugly architecture places. Not ugly in terms of nature, but ugly in nature is never ugly. But ugly as human artifacts. Ugly.
Yeah.
I can't stay in. I really feel uncomfortable. So I think it has changed the aesthetics, the way I see things and appreciate what surrounds me. I don't know if it has changed my ethics. I think that was something that I already had from previous. I think it has increased that. It has enabled me to say, okay, I want to do something that changes or that makes the world better, even if it in a small.
Yeah.
I think I have that anywhere I go. Like I'm always looking at how I can make things a bit better, or make them function a bit better, or I always have this desire. So I think I bring that also in my relationships.
Yeah.
Like always thinking of how I can help people.
Yeah.
I think so. Maybe it's part of my previous life before design, but I think design has enhanced it for sure.
Right.
Has brought more meaning to it. I don't know what else.
Like if you have to take like an important decision, let's say in your family, have you gone into like a designer hat and passively run a design thinking in your head without even knowing that?
I don't know if I've always been, in any case, someone that is a decision maker. I take decisions many times, and I don't have. And when when I'm not sure, I don't take the decision. But when I'm 100%, there's something gut feeling, I just go straight. I have no doubts. But I think that's more me. I don't know if it's a design perspective. I don't think, no. And I realize when I'm with people that don't have a design background, that I do tend to plan, but not in the sense of planning. How to say that I need to know how things need to be done, but I can have a wide perspective on the problem, a wider perspective maybe on the problem. Yeah, maybe this, like having a wider perspective and understanding that there's different roles, different, so maybe this is a more service design approach though. Than, understanding the different people, how to put them together. Yeah, that's something that, bringing people together and to do something, to do a project together. Yeah, right. In that case, yeah. I don't know. I'm thinking now my daughter goes to school. And I'm quite, so there, with respect to other mothers, maybe, I have more.
Because now she is looking at you taking decisions or doing things.
Yeah.
And you would tend to take a kind of a pathway which is influenced by your design knowledge. So you tend to think like that, and for her it's just natural. So I think it's also passively like really enhancing her thinking or decision making. Of course, you're not teaching her this is design thinking.
No.
Because but
it's always difficult to understand what you're transferring to another person. It's always difficult to be so conscious about it.
Yeah.
For sure. Okay, we do lots of things, crafts every day. We're constantly. I enhance this for sure. I do enhance like. She collects things now, and she's a collector of anything. And so my person would say, oh my goodness, stop collecting, because the house is full of stuff, of useless things. But my designer side says, oh, that's interesting. So I give her a chance. After a couple of weeks I throw things away, but
but let her do it.
But I give her a chance. She can take them home. She can have them for a couple. And when she forgets them, sometimes I throw them away, because they start becoming a lot of stuff. But she has this, her curiosity towards things on the floor, on the ground, and picking them up and taking them home and washing them and put them in, and experimenting. Maybe I probably enhance it more than someone that is not a designer, probably.
Right.
I mean, I can see the interesting part, the curiosity and the thinking of things from other things, and that's my designer. But for sure.
Because right now that your actions, when it comes to your kids or anything, is like they don't look as impacting as they are, but in future they reflect in some way. Because while you were telling this, I had a memory of me going to pot making and ceramic classes with my mom, because I was free and I really was interested. And the place where she went, it was all the women and girls doing it, and I was like, it's the only boy there doing that. But that kind of also it wasn't for me like it's the girl thing, it's a boy's thing, because that kind of gap we have quite a lot than other countries right now, let's say in India, than Western countries. But for me, then it kind of became very natural to do things which is not for girls or not for boys, it's just for everybody. So now I'm thinking like these small actions or these small things which you don't really think about much really impact it in a bigger way.
Yeah, so there for sure. With my daughter, I have these design, how would you call them? Quirks. Design
quirks.
So she likes collecting useless things. She likes putting together useless things to build something useless again. And I encourage it for sure. Or, putting together, just putting together things. And today creativity is, they say that it's not taught enough in school. It's not, that you repress it, that our schools have repressed. There's this different theories and so on. So somehow I don't know if it's true or not true, but in any case, if there is a creative, some kind of spontaneous creativity, I'm not gonna
suppress it or stop it. Yeah, that's very important.
Yeah.
Yeah. Again, from my perspective, when I was a child, I had the tendency to try out different things and learn things, and I was doing karate for 6 years, and I was dancing, then I was doing pot and painting and stuff, and then I was playing table tennis for long. But my parents never said like, don't do that, stop it. They just always encouraged me and put in different things. And with school, I really had 2-3 activities which always were there. So for me, it's very natural to do videos, music, this. It just functions like that. And if they would have said, no, you have to study, get good grades, then only you can do that.
Yeah, of course.
Then I would have turned into somebody else.
Obviously.
So I think that's very important. And it's quite interesting.
Yeah.
Though they didn't have design knowledge, they were good parents. Thank you, Mom, Dad. So when you get up every morning, what keeps you going? Like, what is this? Do you have like ultimate bigger goal, or not like a goal, but like what makes you do things? Could be anything that you can do.
There was a time when I had bigger goals. Now I've sort of I'm searching for one now. I've changed my job recently again.
It's a pattern.
And I've learned in my previous changes that I've somehow put lots of passion in and with a strong idea of where I was supposed to bring the group. But somehow this then always took me to being very exhausted. I achieved what I was supposed to achieve, but I didn't then celebrate the achievement because I was so exhausted. And so I learned that somehow I have to maybe listen a bit more and understand what this goal could be, but maybe more leaving more space to the rest of the world instead of just charging in one direction. This is what we have to do. Before I was more this is what is right, this is what we're gonna do now, and I would bring together the people, we'd build it, we'd achieve amazing goals, but still it was lots of energy and my energy and of course other people's energy, but I was like very much guiding. So now I'm more in a situation where I'm listening a bit more to understand what the goal could be. Which is not only my goal. It's, I think what pushes me to do things is again my passion too. I get very like I look calm, but inside I'm always there's always a fight, and I'm a bit anarchic inside, although it doesn't show so much outside, but I am, and so all this, I start getting angry and with the world, and this is not working, and that other thing is not working. So what I'm doing is I'm trying to calm it down and say, okay, it doesn't have to all work as you think it should go. So I think what pushes me is for sure always wanting to make things better. That's for sure. That's at the basis of everything. So even when I'm teaching, I always have the hope, the wish to, in any case, help someone, realize something, or together even maybe. But it's not teaching what I know. It's always like growing together. That's what my objective is. So that's about teaching. While in the other things I do, because as a teacher you do many things. You teach, but then you have to publish or perish. And then you have to do research, and then you have to do accounting, and then you have to give grades, and then you have to the bureaucracy, and then you have to do PhDs, and then you have to do final thesis, and then so many
Too many
jobs in
things,
one.
yeah.
So yeah, I think I'm still trying to find like the project that I haven't found. I think the project of my like the life project, you know, where you're really.
So have you looked at life till now in a project setting? Like this was your life project, this was your life project?
Yeah.
Often?
Always, I think. So when I was director of the research group, it was about getting people together and you know, building a team and making it work, getting the budget, you know, that was a mission.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's always a project. There's a higher project, then inside the higher project there's smaller projects.
Yeah.
So yeah, and also in the Octagonal was the same.
Yeah.
Trying to build the team. It's always about building the team and getting it going and working and going in a certain direction. Yeah, and also my studio with my two partners. We, you know, put it up. We set it up. It was all a huge adventure, finding clients and now it's strange because I don't have a team. It's me.
True. The dynamic has been changed.
Yeah. So it's a bit strange. I mean, I'm in a team. I'm in a Politecnico. It's there's different teams, different groups, so I'm in, but it's not about putting them together or to do a project. It's
a regular thing.
It's a bit more complicated. Yeah. So I'm in a phase where I'm searching for the next project probably. Yeah. Trying to understand which could be the next project.
Interesting. On the same line, I would like to ask you, because everybody tells that you should dream always big things. Even where I stand right now, I feel everything is possible. I want to do many things, and I feel everything is quite possible. As you have gone ahead in your life, did your dreams started to be smaller, or you are still in a position where you're still dreaming big and you're able to somehow get there or somehow get somewhere? But does reality or this life, let's say, because people say once you start doing stuff, it really changes. Did that affect your dreams to go smaller in some way or less crazier or something like that? Of course, it's very personal thing.
No,
for everyone.
No, I think there's a part of me that is still there fighting that things should go the way they should go. Mm-hmm. And that's the big dream. Like, and it has to do with ethics. It has to do with justice. It has to do with making people happy. It has to do. So that's the big dream, and it's always there, and it's always big. Hasn't changed dimension at all. It has. I mean, I've developed the other side that tells that part. You know, okay, that's utopia.
And there's possibility.
And there's possibility, and there's compromises, and there's also the world is unpredictable. True. And so on. Although in some areas, you know, when you're talking about justice, when you're talking about war, I mean, there's no compromises.
True.
So there's a certain extent where I don't accept compromises, and I'm still very strong there, and I don't I haven't allowed anything to change that.
Right.
I think that is very, very strong in me. There has been a moment in my life where I had to leave completely a path because this was so strong that it was just destroying me. You know, I was like, okay, so I know, at least now I'm conscious about the fact that it's very strong. And that if I'm not in the right direction, it'll say hi, hello. This is not right.
Right.
But it'll say it like in a strong manner.
Yeah.
You know.
I think more and
there's
more
things like panic attacks and things like that.
Yeah.
It'll come like quite strongly. So it'll say no, this is wrong. And so I think that has not changed. That's the big thing, and I think it'll go till, you know, I can't. But I have to keep it under control because I have learned that, you know, you have to, the world is complicated. Mm-hmm. So it's not that simple. And you have to find the right ways to achieve what you want to achieve.
Right.
Probably
That's
this.
very important.
So, but yeah, going back to a project, yeah, this house was a project. When
Yeah.
we started, 3 years ago, I dealt it as a project.
Yeah.
Project management and everything. So, I think, probably I do treat whatever I do as a project in my life. Yeah, I probably do. Maybe not vacations. I don't like planning vacations very much. Yeah, I don't. But if I have, other things, it'll be projects. Probably.
Basis.
Mm.
Yeah. Nice. So
Yeah.
let's do like a overall bigger question. What would you suggest 25, or it's a very cliched question, but what would you say to 25 years old Valentina who's just starting and doing stuff already, that like what would be your message? Because I'm not really seeing you being 25, but
Yeah.
also other people like me and other people who are in the same zone.
Yeah, okay. It's difficult to say because life is I mean, first of all, I never look back and say, oh, I would have done it differently.
Mm-hmm.
Never. Like,
Yeah.
it's something that it's not part of I think always that I've done what I needed to do in that moment. So, and I have this, and it's very deep, this feeling. Like, I never look back. I might look back at things where I was embarrassed, yes. Like, oh, I shouldn't have done that. Yeah, that, yes. But I don't look back to, like, big decisions, changing jobs, changing anything, life, places, where to live, also where to study. I would have done exactly what I do, because I think that it's by doing these things that I've become
what you are.
So it's difficult to tell that person at that time what, but at the same time, if I could go back with the awareness that I have now of life and of who I am, I would probably tell myself to have a bit more courage in doing what I think is good for me.
Mm-hmm.
And give less importance to what people think about it. This
Right.
for sure. I think probably when you're young, you're scared. You're scared to be judged. You're scared. I'm still scared to be judged, actually. That doesn't change. But I'm more conscious about, what's good for me.
Yeah.
I think that's important. I think that is the key to say. I mean, if you're not sure, should I go right or should I go left? I mean, think what's good for you
Yeah.
in that moment, and not what's good for what you think others should think that you should do.
You should do.
And that's difficult. It's difficult in time. So probably if I had done that, if I had had that awareness at that age, I would have taken a completely different route.
Yeah.
I would have become, I think, a carpenter. Seriously. I think that sometimes. That I would have become a carpenter. Like, I really like when I do that stuff. And another thing that I've, a good thing that my math professor used to say, two things actually, two learnings. One is you have to be on top of things to decide. So if you're in the middle of the mist, it's quite difficult to take decisions. So wait till you actually have the bigger picture. And then another thing that I learned, I think, from the design your life, because I participated in one of those, is that there's moments when you have this the flow moments. Yeah, and I perfectly know when I have a flow moment. Mm-hmm. Like, I'm completely conscious this is a flow moment. And I think that's an important thing to know when you're 24. Like, look at when you have these when you have that moment where, for hours you would do that for hours and never stop.
Yeah.
Like, for me, it was math. I could have gone on for hours doing math. And so maybe I should have done math instead of design, but I don't know. But still, if you listen to those moments where time just goes by and you don't even realize, that's a clue.
Yeah,
At
hold
20,
on to that.
yeah. And to listen to that and say, okay, so what does it mean? Maybe it's not, okay, I have to do math, okay. But for sure, it's a clue.
Right.
It can help to tell you what's the right thing. So, because you say, okay, what's the right thing for me? It's quite difficult to answer that in any moment in life.
True.
But the flow moments are moments where you can't get it wrong. You know when time is passing and you don't even realize. You know when that happens. And so that's easier to depict, to say, okay, that was a flow moment. What was I doing?
Mm-hmm.
And build on that.
Yeah.
Probably.
That's important. Cool. Yeah, your life has been super experimental, and you have done, as we have discussed today, you have done whatever you thought was really good for you and you picked that, and it's quite inspiring to see that. And thanks for being on the podcast, yes, but thanks for teaching at Politecnico and inspiring lives, of my life, of course, yes, but also the other students and students to come. It's very important. Again, I will mention the same thing. It's not always about the skill set, but also the vision with what you do something. Because nowadays you can learn things overnight, but why you learn and
or
what would you do with
on
it?
podcasts.
True. It's very important. So thank you so much for that.
Thank you for the interview.
Yes, thank you so much for coming on podcast. Thank you for letting me shoot this beautiful podcast in this beautiful house. And I'm really sorry I can't show you the house, but she has got a really nice house. She has, it's very well. It's one of the kind of houses I really like. It's massive and very thoughtful. So that's all from today's podcast. You can follow Valentina on LinkedIn. I'll put the link down below so you can check her profile out, or if you need help, maybe they can message you. If you have time, you can reply.
Of course.
And that being said, don't forget to subscribe to the Fun Indian Guy channel if you want to see more things which I do. Sometimes it's design, sometimes it's music, so sometimes it's just lifestyle stuff, but it's okay. That's what I like to do. And that being said, don't forget to have fun, because having fun is not an option. It's a lifestyle which all should follow.
I agree. Bye.
The Fun Indian Guy podcast.